Okay, so we're here with the goalkeepers. Thought I'd start from the top. So I'm basically just going to go straight in with the keeper that I'm pretty certain I'm going to be picking for this season. Also, what I will say is I'm starting this channel like 2 days before the start of the season, because if you're starting, at the beginning of preseason, then you're for FPL you're already just shooting into the wind. Like you know, you can. There's so many unknowns, like so many players that can move clubs, so many things you don't know about formations, so many things you don't know about which players are starting, so many players you don't know about, what time they're coming back. Now, a few days before the season, we have basically all the information we can have. Um, anyway, just wanted to talk about that. So, Sels. Now, a lot of people say that, Forest have signed this new 6'8" keeper. Sels, he wasn't very good last season. I think he's starting. I think he's the number one choice. This 6'8" keeper, Miguel, that Forest have signed, he's got like barely any experience. He played barely any games last season, and this was, that's just like professional level. This is Premier League level. So I don't think he's going to get chucked in as the number one. I think it sells a spot to lose. And if you look at these fixtures, they are brilliant. Like, and it's not even over a short 3 week period. It's the first 10 fixtures really, aside from the Liverpool away one. But as a goalkeeper, you know, say that he concedes two against Liverpool away, he can, let's say, starts on one. If he makes 6 saves, that's a 3 pointer. You know, so I wouldn't really fear that much the Liverpool away fixture, and you never know what can happen. And then all the other ones, I think it's feasible that they can get a clean sheet. Even the Chelsea away one, I think it's possible for sure that Forest could keep a clean sheet there. Um, and at 4.5 million with those fixtures, I just don't really see any better options if you're assuming that he starts. But a lot of people aren't assuming he starts, but I think he does, so I'm selecting him. The number two, Valdimarson. Basically, the reason he's number two is because there's no starting 4.0 goalkeeper, but I do not rate Flecken as a goalkeeper, and that's Brentford's number one keeper. So, out of all the keepers, I'd say Flecken is the most likely to make a glaring mistake or a sequence of glaring mistakes which causes him to be dropped, causing the number two Valdemarson to come in. Um, yeah, so I think he's the most likely to be given an opportunity at starting. Not saying it will happen, but I'd say he's the most likely. So that's why he's my number two. Other keepers, I mean, there's the option of going for someone solid like Raya. Like, Raya, at the end of the day, is the only locked player you expect to start 38 games for the Arsenal defence. And I think the Arsenal defence will be the best defence in the league again, because they've strengthened there. They've got Timber back now as well. So it's like two new signings with Timber and Calafiori almost. But obviously, there's Gabriel slightly more likely to be rotated. Even Saliba, I think he'll get the odd rest, and Timber will play in the right centre back role. Obviously, Ben White can play there. So Raya really is the only like definite way into the Arsenal defence. But he doesn't really make many saves, and the first five fixtures aren't that great, and he's an extra million to Sels, and he takes up an Arsenal spot. So it's just not really doing for me. I think it's a safe pick, but if you're trying to stand out and really get as many points as you can with a bit of extra risk, I think you go with someone like Sels instead. But I do expect Rare to be up there by the end of the season. Who else? Importantly, I think Edison is definitely City's number one for this season. I might be wrong on that, but he did start in the Community Shield. Then again, Ortega started in the Community Shield, I believe, last season, and Edison was the number one. So we'll have to wait and see on that, I guess. Pope, it's not the worst shout, but it doesn't really excite me that much. The fixtures aren't bad, but the clean sheet fixtures for Newcastle are usually at home, um, and they don't have that great home games apart from the first one. Um, the other two home games in the first six are against Spurs and City, and I'd expect both of those teams to score. Um, and I'm not sure they're getting Gahey in, but they could be a bit light at the back at some point. We'll see how Kelly does for them, new signing from Bournemouth, playing either left back or left centre back. Um, but I think it's a wait and see on Newcastle. I don't think he's a terrible shout. If you've got paper in your team, I wouldn't try and talk you out of it too much. Other keepers, obviously Ramsdale, if he were to go to another Premier League club, would be a good option. In terms of the Chelsea boys, Sanchez, I don't think he's a bad pick. I think it's his spot to lose again, similar to with Sels. Even though Chelsea have signed another keeper, I think Jorgensen, the new keeper, will just play in the Europa Conference League and the cup matches. The keeper Jorgensen is only pretty young, so I don't think they're going to throw him straight into Premier League football in his first season. I think they'll give him some time to bed in. And the fixtures aren't bad, but the only problem is Chelsea's defence, I think, is shocking. I don't think Tosin is a very good signing, to be honest with you. You know, you look at the centre backs out there. England are short on centre backs, and he didn't even get Tosin. He didn't even get called up. It wasn't even in the conversation to get called up for an England squad that was very short on centre backs. Yet Chelsea have signed him. He's also not like a young player who's got a lot of room for improvement. If I'm correct, I think he's about 27 years old. So he's basically in his prime. I don't see him improving that much. So that signing really confused me. I know he's on a free, but still, you know, Chelsea have got like 6 centre backs now at the club, which is a few too many. But yeah, anyway, fixtures are decent. I think he starts. I think probably be my second or third choice in terms of for FPL who I'd go with. Henderson, quite a popular pick among some of the engaged managers. I just don't like the Palace fixtures that much. I think they concede in pretty much all of these. Maybe Leicester at home, Everton away, they could keep a clean sheet. Perhaps I'm being harsh. I just don't like the fixtures that much compared to Nottingham Forest's. And Glasner's quite an attacking manager. I'm not saying Palace is a bad defence, but Glasner, I think from his time in Frankfurt, wasn't renowned for his defensive record. So yeah. Anyway, that's pretty quick one just on the keepers. There's not really that many options out there. Leno, I don't like so much as well because he, I think with Fulham losing Paulinho, losing Tosin, I know they've been okay in pre-season, but I think they're going to pay for that if they don't replace them properly, and they haven't yet with a couple of weeks left to go in the window. Fixtures are decent, but yeah, I think I'll give them a miss. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the goalkeepers. Pickford, highest scoring keeper from last season. You could go there. Everton have lost, they've lost Onana. Is that going to affect them defensively? Branthwaite does look like he's staying. I don't know, it just doesn't excite me enough to go with him. Yeah. Anyway, that's the keepers, pretty short one. I'll release the defenders, midfielders, and forwards next.